Gisukukit. Tlusuk Ushmik Akmiknashla, Gisukukit, Hugashlik Mark Bashke, Hunini Ktunaxa, Hugaki Aki Akam, Husuklis Kukanik and Wakis Nasam Yidki. My name is Diane Whitehead. I work for the Ktunaxa Nation Council. I am the Urban Service Liaison / Intake Coordinator. So anyone that becomes a client within social sector receives a continuum of care. So they have access to detox, they have access to the nurse practitioners, they have access to mental health clinicians, they have access to Street Angel, they have access to our recovery program, they have access to our aftercare recovery program, and then once we get the treatment center up and going, they'll be able to have access to that. So when it comes to the staffing within all of the programs, we don't just have one staff member that does one thing, we do it all. We work together, we work really closely with each other, we are communicating all the time around different scenarios or different clients within each of the program because each client's different. Each client that ever walks through our detox center or recovery program meets every single worker within the social sector that's going to be working closely with them. So they don't have to think every morning that they're going to have a new worker. It's usually the same worker or the same group of workers that will be working with them. So it's comforting, so they know that they don't have to be scared or have to repeat their stories over and over and over again to different workers each day. So culture is one of our huge things within our programs. We're trying to bring back culture within our programs because we find that it's been lost, and a lot of the times when people are enduring with mental health or addictions, they are not practicing their culture, but it seems that's what's lost, and maybe that's why they are lost. So trying to get them back in and learning about sweats and smudging and the significance of eagle feathers and beading, and just trying to get them back connected with their community and their family and their culture is huge.
You know, it's the people, it's just, I never had that kind of support ever in my whole life. You know, just, it was life and death for me.
I've told her always, you can call me no matter what time of day, middle of the night, if you feel like drinking, call me, I'll come get you, I'll talk to you. So she did call one time at 6 in the morning and I didn't answer because my phone was on silent, and found out, you know, I went to every bar in town once I seen she'd called. I drove by the King Eddie, I drove by her old place, I went to Walmart because that's where we used to go to just do stuff and get stuff for her cat, and she ended up being at Walmart, so that was really good. And I told her, if you go drinking, I'll find you, and so she always believed that after I found her.
So she had gone to Street Angel looking for some supports. I got the call. They couldn't get her into Ponderosa House due to her alcoholism. She didn't have a place to live. She'd been kicked out of her place. So she didn't have anything. So I went down to Street Angel. I had a discussion with her. One of the things I noticed right off the bat is that she hadn't eaten for a couple of days. She hadn't showered. She was probably ready to go into DTs.
No, I didn't. I don't even remember Debbie being in the picture. I don't even remember Street Angels being in the picture. I just knew I was sitting there and I was really wanting another drink.
So under harm reduction, one of the principles that the Ktunaxa use is that we need to meet the basic needs. So her basic needs from that standpoint was a place to stay, medical attention, and some kind of alcohol to stop her from going into DTs. So I went and met with the nurse practitioner, and one of the things that we decided was that we would put her in a hotel and that we would give her 3 beer a day so that she wouldn't go into DTs, and then once that was done, she would stay there until we could get to Ponderosa.
My alcohol spirit wanted me to be with my old friends and to be in that area that I was familiar with. I didn't know Walmart. I didn't know Superstore. I didn't know how to shop. I didn't know nothing anymore. I didn't know how to take care of myself. I didn't even know the prices. What is the deal? You know, the only deal that I knew was how much alcohol was.
When she came into recovery, she was our first client. We had just opened up the recovery home. We were still learning as well. I think what worked for her is that right off the bat, she was part of the building of the program. It was important to learn from her what was needed in a recovery home and what the needs were. And with her being our first person in there, we had her for a couple of weeks where it was just her. And one of the policies that we have with our other programming is that animals aren't allowed on site. Well, we learned very quickly that animals are part of the culture and they are part of harm reduction, and so we allowed her to bring her cat. And I think that if it wasn't for her cat, she would have had troubles completing the program.
Oh, Sammy, my best friend, he's my hero. Oh, he likes being groomed and touched. He was the best healer of my healing journey.
He was the best healer?
Yeah, and he was always comforting, always warm against my body. I needed that touch. I needed nobody to ask me questions.
Culture is something that everybody needs in their life. It helps them stay grounded or to reground themselves. If you don't have your culture, you're lost. You don't realize your full potential and where you fit in with the nation or your people.
They brought in an eagle feather for us, so we were able to use an eagle feather to smudge ourselves daily, every day, and I caught that on. So now I do it even to this day. I do it every day. And they told me if I relapsed, I can I can give it to somebody that can look after it until I sobered up. I didn't want to give that eagle feather away, no way. I want that eagle feather every day and to be thankful that I'm sober.
For culture to be woven into recovery, what we did was worked extensively with the Ktunaxa traditional wellness coordinator. A large part of his role was to talk to us about when it would be appropriate to use different cultural pieces. One of the basic ones that we did was bring smudging in every morning before we opened up our circle and our check-in, and participants said that they benefited a lot from that, and it's one of the practices that they brought into their everyday practice as well once they left recovery. We also worked with him on an individual basis too. So if somebody was really wanting to get connected with somebody who ran sweats, he would be the one who found somebody in the community open to supporting them. Or if we worked with Aboriginal people who are not Ktunaxa, trying to figure out who in their community we could connect them to bring in those cultural pieces.
I think with her continued practices of the culture, staying connected with people that are culturally active is helping her stay in recovery, to stay focused on what she needs to be doing.
And I did the wrong color.
Besides the smudge and the sweat, there's also other things she can do. She's started doing her bead work.
Yeah. Okay.
When some of the residents came into recovery house, they're given an eagle feather in the beginning, and Irene spent a lot of time teaching the one group how to bead their eagle feathers and how to take proper care of it and the importance and significance around the eagle feather. So those pieces of knowledge she's brought in to the group for sure.
You have to have a place to sober up in, an area where they can just feel babied, cradled and, just be taken care of before you can have a transition. They're tired and they're really sick and they need that time and their medication and the truth, and be tender, because it's a very sensitive subject about, your life at the time. It's because it's real horror and it's fearful and it's scary. You don't want to open up, their wound is really sore. you know, like it's raw. And
as we know, and evidence shows, that people go into detox, into recovery, into treatment, and when they come out, they don't have anything to go back to. And what we've been able to do, thanks, you know, to Interior Health and First Nations Health Authority and our nation, is that we've been able to build a continuum of service. So you have your detox, you have your recovery, and not so much going to treatment, but having the aftercare of moving into second stage housing and being able to be there for as long as you need. And I think with all of those supports, so, you know, as you move through the continuum, you've got to have those supports and you've got to continue to have those engagements.
To that one up there, that's how.
The community support for Irene was very collaborative between all of the resources within the Ktunaxa Nation. So we had nursing support, dietitian support, physiotherapy support, home support workers, as well as the nurse practitioners and the urban liaison Aboriginal worker. And so collaboratively we worked together to offer services to Irene, take her to appointments, and support her in getting secured housing. And when she moved over to the recovery house, we were also engaged with ongoing medical support that she was needing from her discharge from hospital. And she also was looking for ongoing visitation at the recovery house so that she wasn't just exposed to all of the residents who were there, but she had that ongoing support that we were offering her early on in her care. When she transitioned over to Scotty's house, I remember a time when I went to visit her, and she was surprised because she thought that after when she finished at recovery that I wouldn't be continuing on with my visits. And she's, I'm so happy you're here. I didn't think I was going to see you again, you know. And I said, no, I'm going to keep supporting you and being with you on this journey.
It can be really stressful for people to not be able to get in to see their primary care provider, like to get an appointment with their doctor. That can be really stressful for people to be told that they have to wait 2 weeks or 3 weeks when they've got needs that need to be met right now. Or questions that are pressing and they just sit and wait idle. And so I think it helped Irene to know that I was there if she needed it. So she wouldn't get stuck without access for weeks on end. And she, if she had questions come up, she could ask them. She didn't have to sit there and wonder. And so I think that maybe set her mind at ease, and the rest of the care team, that if there were pieces that were left disconnected, that I can help pick those pieces up and put it back together again.
Since she's gone into recovery again, she's got her laugh back. She laughs a lot more. She's a lot happier, or I feel she's a lot happier than she was before. She's learned how to deal with her addictions, so she's a happier person. She's very knowledgeable in the language, and she shares her culture with people.
now I quit smoking, I quit drinking, and then I quit something else, I forget, sex. No. Like, how do you deal with that? I'm still healing on that one. Oops.